Welcome to Trek Trav. I am Trav. This is Star Trek Enterprise Season 1, Episode 11. We are almost halfway through the series, or pretty much halfway through the series, and we're back to the Temporal Cold War. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get into this review. Finally, we're back to the main plot of the first episode, and I couldn't be happier. We've had a lot of ups and downs episodes this season, but Cold Front is definitely a really good episode, which is my review. Turn off now. Fucking idiot. So the episode initially opens with Silik getting some of his genetics removed because he's being punished for what happened on the Helix. What happened on the Helix in the first episode, and they're taking away his vision. Then we're to the title sequence, which of course is always a load of fun. The Enterprise is on a mission. They see a signal from a ship that is inside a giant, I want to say stellar nursery or nebula, and they're heading to it. We get a nice little scene of Travis and Hoshi just sort of being the youngest member of the crew, being the excited ones. Malcolm leaves the bridge for a second. Travis is scared to take the chair. It's a very slow burn episode. We meet the people who are on the ship. They are taking a pilgrimage to the Great Plume of Agathoria to see basically this stellar event that happens every so often. And we're introduced to them. Phlox gets right into their culture. Archer's being Captain Pleasant. The ship captain who took them to the Plume of Agathoria is just a down-to-business sort of kind of rude guy. And there's nothing malicious about what he's doing. He just wants to do his job. He doesn't want to deal with all the nonsense, and it's genuinely fun just to have a guy in a Star Trek episode who just gives zero fucks. He's just like, yeah, sure, if they want to go over, I don't care. Yeah, sure, if you want to say hello, I don't care. It's a really fun way of doing things. We notice when they come aboard that there's a lot of people moving around in the background, but one of them looks a little like Silik. I noticed it because I have seen the episode before, but not in a long time. Like, I haven't watched a lot of Enterprise over time. And it's very clear that they're sort of setting up this sort of, oh, is it not? It's very clearly him. He has a very distinctive face. We're introduced to crewman Daniels, of whom is swapping shifts and giving Archer food. Random new character, really, really interesting to sort of, they focus on him a bit too much, so kind of, he's going to be important to the episode. We see Silik go and sabotage the warp drive. Then there's a plasma storm, energy goes through, and it's stopped. So Silik saved the Enterprise, and that is the crux of the thing. Archer is suddenly accosted by Daniels, who needs to tell him something, and then we get a broader explanation of the Temporal Cold War, which is there is two factions, one from an earlier point in history, one from about 900 years in the future, before Discovery Season 3, 4, and 5, but after the 24th century shows that we have. And it's really genuinely like, oh, this is interesting. He uses a device to show timelines and how they monitor time, and there's temporal accords, that rules they have to follow, and there's people who don't follow those rules, which is always the way.
I have no idea when we're talking about time travel here. Either it's all a joke or none of it is. We're good.
It sounds like today. And so Daniels talks about how he needs to locate Silik because he needs to capture him. He needs Archer's help, and Archer needs to reform some of the crew. So we cut to a really nice scene of Archer talking about this with Trip and T'Pol. And T'Pol instantly goes, the Vulcan Science Directorate doesn't say that time travel exists. She's adamant. Time travel does not exist. Trip is even a little bit skeptical about this. And they're asking the right questions. Archer is a much more malleable captain. He sort of changes and he listens over time. And he seems a bit naive in his sort of following of Daniels. Like even Trip brings up the fact that he was on a ship with a holodeck that could have projected the timelines and stuff like that. So it does seem like a big stretch for Archer just to blanket believe this guy. Now, it doesn't help that Silik is a character we know. Silik looks like an evil character. This face is evil. That's like, if they gave us a new character who was sympathetic, I think this would have played a little bit better. But we know it's Silik, and he looks evil. We get mentions of the pilot. We get Daniel saying, we don't know why Silik is here, but I need to capture him. And then we get Silik breaking into Archer's quarters saying, I saved your life, and Daniels is on the wrong side of the temporal Cold War. So Archer has a dilemma. To be fair, not much of a dilemma, because one of them looks like this, and the other one looks like this. One of them looks slightly more evil than the other, and this is the early 2000s. We don't know much about Silik at this point, and back in the time, I imagine that that maybe it was a bit more confusing. For me, it's not. It's really not. You see evil face, you know it's not. But this dilemma, this sort of thing they give to Archer, it doesn't play right, and I get why, because Silik's obviously evil. Daniels as well, though, you don't know whether Daniels is evil or not, but Archer naturally trusts him. Then Silik finds out that Archer and Daniels are working together. They message through and say, Daniels is ready for the thing. Silik goes, well, I know who I'm going after now. Shoots Archer. Collapses to the floor. Porthos, the beagle, really needy of cheese, terrible guard dog. He does not deserve his cheese. And Silik goes to engineering. There's a really cool shot of, so while Trip's showing the people, around engineering, there's a lot of information he gives about like the warp core and how it works, sort of dumbed down. But later on, when we're in engineering, Trip needs to repair something in engineering. Daniels puts like a device on his hand and it allows him to walk through walls. And I love new tech, and that's a pretty cool new piece of tech. It's kind of like the Flash's like phase in through wall thing. I presume it works a similar way. It vibrates your body so you can walk through things. It's generally a cool little, like the futuristicness of these two little ideas, just sort of add a touch to it. Silik, unfortunately, gets into engineering. You get a cool him phasing in and out. He looks like a Suliban again, not the alien race that was there. So he obviously shapeshifted, disappearing and reappearing, and then Daniels goes, get out. I'm a hero. Daniels sends them all out, bring back help, and Daniels is killed. In a weird way, he sort of like glows and then shatters. He did mention earlier in the episode that he's mostly human. It's like when Trip's sort of going, so you're not from Illinois? And he goes, well, I am, but not from the Illinois you know. And then, but on Earth. Yes, but more or less Earth. Like, he keeps sort of very vague on this. And it's one of those times it clicked in my head that in Star Trek Discovery, none of that matters. Like, Earth is Earth. They're still on ships. Their technology isn't hugely more advanced. But that's because I know the future. Or I know the future within the Star Trek universe, which is fine. Look, he could just be mysterious for the sake of being mysterious. So what they do is, Silik's ultimate plan is to get hold of the circle device that Daniel showed Archer the timeline thing on. He wants to know the future, or get the device for Future Guy. Who is this guy? We saw at the beginning taking away Silik's genetic eye powers. We don't know who he is, but he's mysterious, and that is what matters. So Archer and him have a really good sort of chase sequence. Archer eventually catches, there's like a fight sequence inside this small area. Silik manages to escape. They get to the airlock, and Archer, weirdly enough, like Silik goes, well, I saved your ship. So Archer shoots the device, not Silik. So allowing Silik to live, but destroying the device. Silik ultimately escapes by going through the shuttle bay doors, which is really fun. It's like a really fun sort of way to exit. Archer's almost blown out, and then there's no air. Silik can apparently float through space like Jesus. He did a General Leia Organa from Star Wars: The Last Jedi. Just floats towards his ship, and so Archer just apparently, once the air's gone, Archer just didn't breathe until he got back to the door, opened the door, got in, started breathing. They ask if they want to follow, and Archer says, "Let him go," which is, we need this story to continue. It's a really, look, the whole episode was lots of fun, sort of timey, not even really timey-wimey moments, very much like fun sort of character dynamics. Like a few little things are a bit iffy, but I loved the Travis, Hoshi, Malcolm moments. I think having them being the younger crew is very entertaining. I think having the triad of T'Pol, Trip, and Archer having a discussion about what's going on, really interesting. The visual effects in this episode, the NX-01 looks fantastic, and I know that I watched this on high definition, but it just looks beautiful. The ship looks amazing. The end of the episode leaves us on Archer going, he needs a nap, but also them locking Daniel's door. And what happens when they lock Daniel's door? Slow pan all the way to the lock on the door with mysterious music. Will we see this again? I am actually not sure, because they've all kind of blurred together sometimes. But really fun episode. Little slow to start. The cultural elements of the Pilgrims, the fun with the crew, the sort of intrigue about the temporal Cold War, really, really good. Interesting, kept me engaged. Certainly one of the better episodes of this first 11. And just genuinely fun. I think all the characters, all the actors as well, feel much more comfortable in this episode. I don't know why, but even Malcolm, I don't think Dominic Keating really was the greatest actor in the show, but in this episode, he just has a little wry sort of enjoyment, yet stoicism is really interesting. I think all the actors play really well. I think the score is very TNG era, nothing super special about it. I think the NX-01 inside still looks fantastic. Engineering looks fantastic. I would argue to say that the NX-01 still has one of the best interiors of any Star Trek show. And it just looks fantastic. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, tell me what you thought about this episode. Come back to Trek Trav for our Star Trek Voyager reviews with Ribbit, and also random topic episodes, plus shorts, plus giant monkeys. I am the giant monkey. I hope to see you again. Have a good night, day, morning, or intergalactic middle ground. Good night.